Hello YouTube, this is Billy. Today I'm coming to you with a 2002 Lexus ES300. Do like a basic oil change. I've already got the hood popped up and the motor has cooled off for about 20 or 30 minutes. So it's still a little warm, but I'm just going directly underneath the front of the car, and on the passenger side I've got the vehicle up on the curb just to help me fit under there. But in the event, right down here, again, this is under the passenger side. So right as you go under, you'll see this cross member here, okay? And right behind that cross member, this right here is your oil pan. And on the driver's side over there, that would be your transmission. So you don't want to accidentally drain your transmission fluid. Your oil pan is on the passenger side of the vehicle. So that plug that you can see right there, that's the drain plug for the oil pan. So I'll get my little ratchet on there, and what I've got is I've got a 14 millimeter. I'm a little ratchet, and I will get that plug out of there. And as soon as I start to get it loose, I got a drip pan that I will put underneath the vehicle to catch all the oil that will come out. And most of the time I'm able to turn the oil filter by hand, but just in case I need an oil filter wrench to help me break it loose, I have one close by. And the oil filter, you can see it. You come up to the top. Now, if your vehicle's still trying to cool off, like mine's still a little warm, but right there, that white that you see right there, that is my oil filter. And from the top side, I'm able to just reach in there and grab a hold of it. On the bottom side, if you want it to go through the bottom, you can see it better right there. So that's this white right there, that's your oil filter. So same thing with the oil filter. I'll need a drip pan down here when I crack it loose and spin it off to catch all the oil that'll drip out. I'm gonna go ahead and get that plug out with the drip pan, and I'll probably let that drip out until I get the plug back in, and then shift that oil pan up here to the oil filter. Okay, I got my drip pan in place. Got my wrench right here where I can reach it with the 14 millimeter socket on there. And I got me a grease rag that I can use to wipe all because it's gonna get on my hands quite a bit. So, and again, this vehicle has been sitting for about 25 minutes or so. So it's still gonna be a little warm, but so keep that in mind. If your vehicle is warm, you want to be careful and not get burned. But in any event, so that oil plug, I'm going to get that wrench on that oil plug right there and start getting it loose. And I've already got my drip pan here to catch and it's a lefty loosey. So okay, there we go. Most of the time, once you get it started, you can do the rest by hand. So now I'm just gonna reach my hand in there and turn it the rest of the way off, and turning real nice and easy by hand. So go ahead and get this plug the rest of the way out, and the oil will start going into the pan here. And there we go. The oil plug, pulled it out of the little catch pan, and you always want to be careful that if your oil plug has a washer, like this white plastic washer that's on this one, if your plug has a washer, you definitely want to put that back on and use it, because like if the washer sometimes will stick to the oil pan and all you realize is that you have the plug. So it's always a good idea to feel around the hole and make sure there's not a washer stuck there. And if your plug has a washer, you want to make sure you put that back on, or otherwise it may not seal as good as it should, okay? And see, I just take it and clean it off real good, and it's still dripping a little bit. It's a little bit of a stream. It's not a lot, but it hasn't slowed down all the way good yet. So as soon as that slows down good, with this plug wiped off good, then I'll put that plug back in. And now when you put your plug back in, you want to be careful not to over tighten it. So as soon as it starts feeling like it's starting to tighten up, maybe just a hair more, but do not over tighten your oil plug, because the metal that it's screwing into is thin, and that oil pan is not very thick, it's thin. And if you over tighten it, you could strip the threads in the oil pan, and then it gets a lot more expensive on a basic thing like this. So you don't want to over tighten it. As soon as it starts feeling like it's getting tight, maybe just a little tiny bit more, you do not want to over tighten your oil plug, okay? Okay, it is down to a slow drip, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this oil plug back in. And again, I will make sure that I'm careful to not over tighten it. Okay, I just got my oil plug back in there, and I was careful to not over tighten it. All I've done now is pulled the drain pan closer to the front of the vehicle, because now I'm gonna oil filter that white canister right there. And I'll put both of my hands on there and try to break it loose with both hands. And if that doesn't work and it's on and it's needing a wrench, I've got my little wrench here that I can put on there and help me turn it. But most of the time with two hands, I'm able to get a good grip. And same thing with the oil filter, is lefty loosey and righty tighty. Get that unscrewed, and oil will start coming down into the oil pan here that I've got placed here underneath it. Or carefully reach down to set it into this catch pan here. Okay, so I finally got the oil filter broke loose. And for me, I actually laid on my back and got both of my arms and hands on it good to help turn it. And once I got it broke loose, then I went to the top side of the car and spun it off the rest of the way, and then kind of helped it fall into the catch pan. And so now I'll just take a towel and wipe all around where the oil filter screws on, clean that up, where all the oil drips all over, and clean that up. And I'll get the new oil filter put on. And you see on the old oil filter, right here on this edge right here, directly under my fingernail right there, this black ring, that is a plastic. Oh, look, it's coming off. Look at there. See this black ring that's beginning to come off? Sometimes that will stick to your motor. So on your old oil filter, always look and make sure it stayed with the old oil filter, because if this black ring sticks to the motor, you want to get it off, because your new one has one already, okay? And if you put your new filter on top of like, if this plastic O-ring sticks to the motor on the old one and you put the new one on top of it, it will not seal, and you'll have a mess to clean up in any event. So always check your old oil filter and make sure that this black ring here came off with the oil filter, okay? So the new one has a new O-ring on it. And some of this old oil, I will actually get it on my finger real good, and I will just smear it all around the black O-ring on the new oil filter, and then I'll screw it on. And on the oil filter, you don't want to go too tight. You want to put it on tight with your hands, but not too tight. So when it starts feeling a little tight, maybe just a hair more, there's no reason to put it on way entirely too tight, okay? Okay, so here's my new oil filter, and I've already put a little bit of the oil just smear around on that black plastic ring that we were talking about. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this screwed on and into place. Okay, there's the new filter in place, and it's on good and tight, but it's not too tight. You want to just be careful that you don't over tighten stuff. So now I'm ready to start putting oil in. And what I like to do is I actually, all of the old oil that came out, I'll put it in a jug to see exactly how much came out of the car. And I'll put the exact same amount back in the car, check the oil a few times, and confirm I got it at the proper level. So the oil that was in the oil can, I poured it into an empty container that I saved for this purpose. And right here is what came out of the car. And this is a brand new bottle that I bought at the store. So on this one, it's supposedly exactly 5 quarts, and it's right here. And what came out of the car, yep, right here. So if it was up here, it would be 5 quarts. So it looks like around 4 quarts, maybe a hair over 4 quarts is what came out of the car. So I'm gonna be careful to put only the same amount back in the car, and then start it, let it run for a minute, then turn it off, let it sit for a minute, and then check the oil. I'll probably do that 2 or 3 times to confirm that I've got the proper oil level amount. And on the dipstick, which on this particular vehicle is right here, it's kind of hiding behind the radiator hose here. So this is the dipstick. I'll pull this out and hello. So right here on the dipstick, little mark and that little mark, those 2 little marks, that's the safe operating range. This top mark would be exactly full. See, what I like to do is actually use a small bottle. That way I can confirm that I've got the exact amount that I'm trying to put in. So I go from the big one into a small one with a little window on the side so I can see that I've got exactly 1 quart. And right up here on top of the motor, this is where you would put the oil in. So I'll move my funnel up here and add, 1 quart at a time, and keep up with the count as I go so that I don't overfill it. Okay, now when you're pouring the oil in, you want to be nice and careful that you don't spill oil. It can get expensive, take it from me, because I've actually had that happen to me before, where I spilled oil and it got down into my coils, and it was a little bit expensive to say the least. So when you pour your oil in, you want to be nice and steady and smooth, and just take your time with it. Don't rush. You don't want to spill oil. Okay, I got the 4 quarts. Slowly pour it in, get the cap put back on. I'll start up the car, and I'll actually move the car to some nice flat ground, and turn the car off and let it sit for a minute or 2, and then check the oil level, and do that a few times until I get it exactly at that top notch on the dipstick. And last but not least would be the mileage that's on the odometer. I will write that down and keep up with it so that I know when I'm due for my next oil change. After getting the car to flat ground, and just by moving it to flat ground, it ran momentarily to get it moved, and then I turned it off and let it set for 2 or 3 minutes, and then I checked the oil on the dipstick, and in my case, it was about 4.5 quarts to get it to that top little notch on the dipstick. Well, if anybody this video may help, well, everybody be safe and good luck. Bye.